So, you've just started Guild Wars Reforged, and you've probably heard people talking about heroes, and maybe you're wondering, where do I even get these things? Heroes are one of the biggest upgrades you can make to your account. Unlike henchmen, you can customize their skills, their equipment, and eventually build entire teams around them. The problem is that the game never really tells you where to find them, and some of them are incredibly easy to unlock while others require progressing a long way through a campaign. Heroes came pretty late into the development of Guild Wars. They started out in Nightfall, but since then, they're such a well-loved concept, they've kind of been shoehorned in all over the place, and there's no real super consistent approach that they have with them. So in this video, I don't want to rank every hero or tell you the most optimized speedrunning route. Instead, I want to show you the heroes I'd recommend grabbing early if you're new, why they're worth picking up, and roughly how much effort all that's going to take. That way you can decide what's worth doing without feeling like you have to abandon your campaign just to chase some specific hero. Let's start with probably the easiest hero in the entire game, Mox, or MOX. He's available almost immediately in any campaign. Once you reach the first major hub, so that's Lion's Arch for Prophecies, Kaining Center for Factions, and once you hit level 10 in Nightfall, Mox will appear outside of Commandant and ready for you to grab him. He's going to be standing there, you'll find him, he's ready to be recruited. All you have to do is talk to him, accept it, and he's all yours. Now, Dervish isn't necessarily the strongest hero profession in the game, but Mox is solid. He requires almost no effort, he's a huge upgrade over a generic henchman, and he's level 20, he's got a good weapon. If you're brand new, there's really no reason not to grab him. He's going to do some pretty decent damage. If you're playing Prophecies, or if you're playing any of the other campaigns, and once you're able to get to Prophecies, in Lion's Arch there's an incredibly easy hero to pick up, and that's a new hero, which is Devona. So she is brand new, super simple. All you have to do is accept her quest, and then speak to her again, and you've got another hero. If you happen to be a pre-searing character, she's actually even more valuable there because she's the only hero available there. She has her own quest line and a whole other way to get her. I already have a dedicated video covering everything about Devona if you want all the details. But for the purposes of this list, she's a pretty easy recommendation. Now, the next one has positives and negatives here. Ghost of Althea. She's also new. She's definitely not as quick to unlock as Devona or Mox. So there's a bit of a quest chain involved. It's kind of a long quest chain, and depending on where your character started, getting to the quest can take a little while. So if you're not from Prophecies, you actually have to backtrack and walk all the way back to Pike Square or Old Ascalon or whatever you want to call it. You have to backtrack to this area. They're low-level enemies, so you can pretty much walk there no problem, but it does take a while. And then the quest chain leading up is a long one with lots of backtracking. Now, this isn't exactly a super easy hero to get, but I still think she's worth mentioning. Mesmers are one of the strongest hero professions in Guild Wars. They interrupt, they apply pressure, they shut down enemies, they pretty much do the highest damage in the game. They're essential. So while I think Althea takes a bit more of your time up front, I think she's pretty worth the investment if you're looking to build a strong hero roster. Now, if your goal is to simply get some powerful heroes pretty quick though, I think Eye of the North deserves a lot of attention here. So this is an expansion that does not come with Reforged. It actually costs a little bit extra, but it's well worth it. It's an incredible expansion, really well done. And this gives you access to some pretty powerful heroes right out the gate. So after the introduction, you'll unlock Ogden, a monk hero, and Vekk, your elementalist hero. All you have to do is do that little introduction quest, and you've got them. You don't even really have to fight too much, and you should be able to get them. Now this will get you into Eye of the North, and Eye of the North is, I'd say, a little bit more challenging content if you're, let's say, like a low-level character or something. But if you just go a little bit farther to the Eye of the North outpost, and you do one more quest, you actually are able to unlock Gwen, which is a Mesmer hero, another incredibly powerful hero. So that's a monk, elementalist, and one of the best heroes, a Mesmer, with very little story progression. Now, if we're doing a return on investment analysis here, I really think Eye of the North is probably your best bet, right? You get these three really powerful heroes for very little effort. Eye of the North also has a bonus, pretty easy to get hero. Xandra is a hero that you can obtain really easily. You do have to get a little bit into that Eye of the North story, just a little bit. But let's say once you get Gwen, you feeling like you can adventure just a little bit further, and you get to Gunner's Hold, which is actually very close. You can do the mini game, which is the Norn Fighting Tournament. It is a solo challenge, so you got to make sure your build's actually okay to handle that. Signet of Spirits build is really good for that if you're a starter. But if you feel like that's something you can handle, she is a really easy to get Ritualist, which is a very powerful hero to have. However, on the other side of the coin, we've got Nightfall. Now, Nightfall is where heroes were originally introduced, and because of that, the campaign naturally builds your roster as you play. The trade-off here is that these heroes are tied directly to story progression. You're not just walking into an outpost and recruiting them, you're not just grabbing some quick quest and grabbing them. I mean, there are some like that, but generally speaking, you actually have to play through the campaign to get them. It's a bit more of a time investment. If you're already planning on experiencing Nightfall, then that's probably the most natural way to build a full hero roster team, but it should be noted that that generally requires a bit of time investment. Now, a couple of our star players in Nightfall, I'll say, Olias is a Necromancer hero, so he's probably one of the most valuable ones, and he gets unlocked pretty quickly. The moment you're able to travel and you get to Consulate Docks if you're from Nightfall, or if you travel to Nightfall, you can go to Consulate Docks and get this hero. Elias is a Necromancer, and Necromancers fit into so many different team compositions. They're really powerful heroes, so he's an easy, quick pickup. Zenmai you can get in a very similar way, however, assassin heroes aren't as universally useful as Mesmers or Necromancers, so the Necromancer is probably a little bit more valuable here. If you've started your character in the Nightfall campaign, you'll have gotten heroes along the way, right? So you'll have gotten Kos, Dunkoro, Talcora, Milani. You'll get a couple of monks, a warrior, and a dervish before you even get off the mainland and are able to travel. However, if you come from other campaigns, let's say factions or prophecies, all you have to do is hop over to Nightfall. That quest is actually a little bit challenging, I'm going to be honest, to get to Nightfall. But once you get into Nightfall, the story is going to very quickly hand you those 4 heroes that you would have gotten originally in Nightfall right to you. So that's going to give you a warrior, 2 monks, and a dervish. Now, beyond the ones they just hand to you, there's also the Acolyte quest. So you get to choose between an elementalist or a ranger. I'm going to advise if you're a beginner, rangers aren't the most recommended hero. There's not a ton of great powerful builds for them, but you can make whatever choice you'd like. All right, so if I had to recommend a simple starter roster, these are not necessarily all the best heroes in the game. There's so many heroes, right? There's a big journey that you can take, but these are some low hanging fruit heroes that are easy enough to obtain. They stay useful for a long time, and it would probably look something like this. So grab Mox, he's basically free. He does a decent amount of damage. Look up some good builds for him to even improve what he's already got, but his basic build does pretty good damage. Pick up Devona because she's basically free. There's no reason not to. But if you're willing to spend a little bit of extra time, try to unlock Ghost of Althea. She's a really powerful Mesmer. Head into Eye of the North for Ogden, Vekk, and Gwen. And if you're feeling confident, go ahead and get Xandra as well. That's a really good addition to the game. Pretty easy to get. And then hop into Nightfall and make sure you pick up Olias. And with just those heroes, you've already got a foundation of a really solid team that'll comfortably carry you through a huge portion of the game. And I think that's the important thing to leave us here. You don't need every hero on day one. One of the fun parts of Guild Wars is gradually building your roster as you adventure through Tyria, Cantha, Alona, and the far north. There's no rush to it, but these are just some of the easiest, most valuable heroes that you can pick up early on if you want a little extra help without completely derailing your playthrough. All right, and I've got a couple other ideas for videos. I think I want to take these heroes through and look at some beginner-friendly builds that are inexpensive to put together. So if that's something you'd like to see, maybe make sure you're subscribed. And if anybody out there is a veteran that has some really easy beginner-friendly builds for these heroes, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks all.